We are the Clean Energy and Innovation Capstone team, and we're going to be talking a little bit about energy storage, why it's so important, and what the federal government can do to support its development. So, a quick outline of our presentation. First of all, we're going to be giving a brief introduction on our topic and why energy storage matters. Then we're going to be talking about some of the individual storage technologies themselves. Then afterwards, we're going to talk about the role that the federal government plays in research and development and some of the instruments that they can use to support research and development. Then we're going to talk about some of the research we found on different deployment measures and which we think are the most effective, and then we're going to give our conclusions. So, first of all, why does energy storage matter? Energy storage matters because it can help solve some of both the environmental concerns and the economic concerns plaguing our energy system at the moment. In terms of the environment, we all know that fossil fuels are currently dominating power generation and transportation sectors, which is less than ideal because they're also the primary source of emissions in the United States. Energy storage can help solve these problems, A, because it gets rid of the intermittency problem of renewables. As you know, the sun isn't shining all the time and the wind isn't blowing all the time, so you don't always have access to that renewable energy. And second, because when there's more readily accessible renewable energy, we have the natural benefit of improving electric vehicle competitiveness. Then in terms of economics, global clean energy markets are rapidly expanding. It's estimated that energy storage will be worth tens of billions of dollars in the next decade. One way or the other, the United States is going to be buying that technology, so they might as well make it themselves, we figure. Otherwise, competitors will steal that share of the market. And it can help the United States solve the issue of potentially losing that share in the market, which, as we know, is going to be a pretty large one. So, international competition. At the moment, the push for renewable energy technology is at a high point, and the US is losing grounds to international powerhouses like both China and Germany. China is the largest producer of solar photovoltaic modules in the world. They also lead in the lowest cost margins for those modules. As you can see here, they produce 70% of the world's solar PV modules, a pretty staggering amount. And also to demonstrate their position in the wind energy market, they're producing 45% of the world's wind turbines, so another pretty big share of the market. And then in terms of Germany, their Energiewende program is a pretty effective system of policies used to support federal government research and development. It's comprised of a system of renewable energy loans, strong R&D support, and feed-in tariffs, all of which support various renewable technologies. It's been pretty successful so far. From 2004 to 2012, the Renewable Energy Sources Act has led to a 10% increase in clean energy jobs, as well as 56.5 million tons of avoided carbon dioxide emissions. And so our policy suggestion in terms of international competition is in order to compete with international powerhouses like Germany and China in the field of renewable energy, the United States Department of Energy must support the advancement of battery and storage technology using all of their available mechanisms.
Okay, so to actually get into the technical aspects of a few different types of battery storage technology and kind of how they will be used in this increasing market area. Before we describe specific technologies, just a few terms to keep in mind. All batteries work the same. They use a cathode, an anode, and an electrolyte as a conductor. And all these different technologies, all the different potentials that they have to do with different chemistries and kind of different ways that the energy works within this system, which is so complex and so simple at the same time. During discharge, ions flow from the anode to the cathode through the electrolyte and the separator, so the process is pretty similar regardless. And as we know, batteries are important and energy storage is important for all different types of technologies, from cell phones to electric vehicles to storage, both at a utility scale and at an individual home scale. And it's going to just become increasingly important as our need for batteries diversifies. Currently, the battery that dominates the market is lithium ion. It's held the largest market share for quite some time and has been on the market for 26 years. It has a lot of strengths, including high energy density and the ability to hold hundreds of recharge cycles. However, it does have a short lifespan of 2 to 3 years, meaning that it tends to degrade from use after a few years, so it can't be installed long term. And it also is prone to explosions, as we saw recently with the whole Samsung battery issue. It will probably dominate for the next 10 to 15 years in terms of battery storage for a pretty simple reason. It's much cheaper to drive down costs incrementally than to come up with entirely new manufacturing and R&D mechanisms. However, these issues mean that it might not dominate long term. So our policy suggestion around lithium ion is that it has already been widely adopted by the market, and instead incentives should focus on deployment. It's like electric vehicles and storage, and kind of advancing its use through already existing technologies and systems. That being said, there's battery technologies that are on the market that can stand to take a significant share in the future due to their strengths. One is solid state. Solid state is most well used in small electronics. It has a higher energy density and fewer safety concerns than lithium ion. However, it still has high manufacturing and R&D costs due to the nature of the battery. It requires specific manufacturing costs that make it difficult to scale up and really produce a lot of them at one time. The market is currently in a bit of a flux. There's been a few promising startups, but they've been acquired by large companies like Bosch and Dyson, and there hasn't really been any moves forward in this for a little bit of time. Another really exciting technology is redox flow batteries. These are really suited to energy storage systems for individual PV photovoltaic households and for grid level. Their strengths are that they can meet high power demand, and they're able to be scaled up in terms of their power demand. However, the high cost of materials and the high cost of installing them are still a huge deterrent in making them really feasible for market level. There are a few companies doing work in this issue, doing work in deploying this battery already. For instance, CellCube, a company in Germany, was recently moved into Canada and is now considering doing a partnership with New York CERTA, which is a program that runs in New York State. Our policy suggestion for these types of technologies is that they are going to be very important in bridging gaps in energy storage that lithium ion will not be able to meet, especially in the future. We suggest that the Department of Energy should continue funding for research on reducing the cost and improving the technology of these batteries so that they can improve in their market readiness.
Great, so now that we've talked about these various technologies, we're going to talk about the federal government's role in R&D and what different mechanisms they have to support it. The federal government plays a pretty big part in supporting both basic and applied research. Basic research is the typical nitty-gritty research that you'll hear about, whereas applied research has to do more with more advanced research and how it can be applied to specific products in the marketplace. So the federal government innovation system is decentralized, meaning various entities can research various problems using their own methods. The federal government funds both R&D for business and academic science, and coordinated decentralization is used. This helps avoid communication issues, meaning that it permits multiple researchers to work towards one goal using different measures and tactics. Currently, the biggest role of federal government R&D is pushing new innovations towards commercial viability, and sometimes this means using policies that support smaller businesses to avoid the valley of death problem. The valley of death is the stage in development between initial demonstration of technology and total commercialization of technology. And this can be tricky for certain technologies and smaller companies because a lot of the time energy technologies are very entrenched and have a lot of advantages to more newfound technologies and innovations. So that makes them relatively unappealing to investors. So these small business favoring policies can help bridge these two gaps, or this main gap between demonstration and commercialization. So one of the federal government's major tools to support research and development are the national labs. The national labs are 17 autonomous, primarily autonomous organizations under the watch of 6 different DOE offices. They're able to work towards various DOE problems, for instance, improving energy storage technology using a wide variety of measures and tactics. They get funding from the private sector as well, but a vast majority of it does come from the Department of Energy. We found 2 metrics that kind of demonstrate their success and their ability to work for the sake of the public. The first is that over the last 10 years, there's been a 175% in collaborative patents between the national labs and academia and business. This shows their ability to leverage and make use of the pretty big network they operate within. And second, in the last, or from 1996 on, they've won an average of 33% of the R&D 100 awards each year. These awards reward innovative and new developments and technologies introduced into the marketplace, and the fact that they've won so many of them shows the National Lab's ability to innovate for the public good. So our policy suggestion with the National Labs is that we believe the Department of Energy should increase funding available to the National Labs under the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy and the Office of Science. Both of these offices are working hard to expedite the process of developing grid storage technology, and we think that if they're funded more significantly, we will lead to ensuring the United States market share in terms of renewable energy production and preventing further environmental damages.
And then to talk a little bit more further on kind of like the tech to market strategies that the government can use, and start talking about the technology push, which is kind of a program that pushes R&D, production, sales functions onto the market without a kind of direct or known user need. And we see this with the RPE program, which is the Advanced Research Project Agency of Energy. And they kind of split projects into different subgroups. So we see that with renewables, or they could also fund fossil fuel projects. And it was created by the DOE in 2007 and to fund disruptive, high potential clean energy in particular that are not attractive for private sector investment, to help tech bridge that